this time. The way that you guys have treated me, besides draft night, I mean, you guys booed me on draft night, but every day after that, you treated me like family. And I truly feel like you're my family. Since that day, I have tried to do everything in my power to work and earn your respect and try and make you proud on and off the field. It is always tough to move on. And I just want you guys to know that I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate the McNair family for giving me, drafting me and giving me my first opportunity in the NFL. Thank you, Houston. I love you.
That was an unbelievable run in Houston for J.J. Watt. And it's unfortunately marred by the absolute mayhem that is befalling that organization right now at the hands of Jack Easterby. I've never in my life seen like a poor man's Joel Osteen character just kind of take a franchise that wasn't ever here, but it was here, and just seemingly play how to lose your fan base in 40 days the way he has done over the last few months. And that is muddying the waters a bit on what JJ accomplished there, because I understand for Texans fans, you're like, you've got to be kidding me. JJ Watt lived through Matt Schaub, who was fine, and then Brock Osweiler, Tom Savage, Brandon Weeden, Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates. There's guys I'm forgetting, all the way to finally get to Deshaun Watson. And because of the way the organization from Bill O'Brien to then Jack Easterby was run, despite having Deshaun Watson, that's when JJ says it's time for me to go because we are drawing dead to win a Super Bowl. It's a shame. And I understand some folks are going to say, well, Deshaun asks out, they won't trade him. JJ asks out, they immediately release him. It's not quite as simple as that. JJ had a $17.5 million cap hit. He's not a $17.5 million player anymore. Could they have gotten some trade compensation for him? Probably, assuming he was willing to redo his deal, because there's no guaranteed money left on it anyway. But them releasing him rather than trading him to his preferred destination for a conditional sixth isn't the story today. What should be the story today, though, and I feel like this is forgotten, and this is something I got a front row seat to, because I got to Houston in 2012, and I left before the 2016 season started. So I saw JJ play 2012, 13, 14, 15 in person. And that 4-year run is as good as any 4-year run any defensive player has ever had. Keep in mind, he was playing not 4-3 defensive end, 3-4 defensive end. So most of the time, he was taking on a double team. Yet, despite that, he led all the NFL in sacks by a massive margin. Led the entire NFL in quarterback hits by almost a factor of 2. Led the entire NFL in tackles for loss by almost a factor of 2, and led all defensive linemen in pass deflections by almost a factor of 2. He was almost twice as good as the next best guy. Leave that up for a moment. I'm going to do some math on the fly. Sacks plus tackles for loss plus pass deflections. 69 plus 1. So we're at 229 negative plays, either via pass deflection, tackle in the backfield, on the quarterback, or on the running back. 229 over a 4-year stretch. That's, what's that, 4 a game? It's impossible production from a position that, aside from Reggie White, had never seen production like that. That alone, if he retired after 2015, and since 2015, he's only had one truly great season. He had a 16-sack season since then, but injuries have changed who he is. But that alone is Hall of Fame caliber. The way folks right now talk about Aaron Donald is what J.J. Watt was, and I would argue Watt's 4-year run is actually better than the 4-year run Donald is on right now. He is the second greatest 3-4 defensive end ever, maybe third. Reggie White, Bruce Smith, depending on how you want to call them, and J.J. Watt. And that run was as good as any defensive player at any position has ever had over 4 years. Where's he going to go? Well, betting odds say either with his brothers in Pittsburgh or back in Green Bay in Wisconsin, where he went to college. I would say those betting odds are probably right. Here's Alex Curry with the news.
No. Turn on the news.
On Twitter this morning, Watt says he sat down with the McNair family, asked for his release, and they've mutually agreed to part ways. Watt thanked the city of Houston, but added, quote, "I'm excited and looking forward to a new opportunity." And according to Fox Bet, the Steelers and Packers have the best odds to land him, while his brother TJ is already actively recruiting JJ on Twitter. Wow, Shannon, how much can he help another team? This is big news.
That's a very interesting question, Skip, because I think the injuries over the last couple of years have kind of robbed JJ of his explosiveness because he was as good as we had in the league. He was being Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald burst onto the scene. And so last year he had 5 sacks in 16 games, Skip, and it was with he played a full season. But that was the first time in like 2 years of the last 5 that he's played over half the seasons. Torn pec in 2019, tibial plateau fracture in 2017, 2 back surgeries in 2016, Skip. You see a lot of lower stuff going on, which makes a defensive lineman explosive. Now, T.J. Watt, they play a 3-4 defense, maybe goes to his brother. The Packers, Wisconsin, goes home. Is he one of those guys that you're talking about that's willing that Tom Brady can recruit to go down to Tampa and play in that system? So it'll be very interesting, Skip. It's hard to say it's hard for a guy that's had these kind of injuries to get better later in their career. But maybe a fresh start, maybe going somewhere else, hearing different terminology, being in a different environment can revive J.J. Watt. Because there was a stretch there, Skip. We thought he was going to be the best defensive player to ever walk into the NFL.
Going on 32 years of age next month, 10 seasons. The Texans just let him go. So I assume they attempted to trade him, and there's no market trade-wise because these teams will sit back and say, well, we can probably get him for free. Right?
And you heard him speak out earlier, Skip, about his displeasure of what was going on in Houston. So this was...
No doubt.
Probably saw this coming.
So you and I opened this show back in September of 2016 with you going on record. You thought J.J. Watt at that point, just over 4 years ago, was the best player in football, said Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe. Not the best player on defense, the best player in football, said Shannon Sharpe. All those injuries have piled up since then, and he has slowly sunk into the sunset with the Texans just because his body is betraying the way yours finally did at 35, but his is happening a little earlier because he is high contact, high collision. And as you said, 2 back surgeries. He tore his pec, knee strain, broken leg, ab tear, elbow dislocation, multiple hand injuries because he's always clutching, grabbing, trying to hold on to somebody. And so you say, well, how about performance? So I go on what I respect. You got a little respect for Pro Football Focus, but last 3 years he's started to fade down. But again, he was the 21st best defensive player this year. 21st, that's pretty good.
Defensive player or defensive lineman?
Defensive player. All defense. All defense. It's still pretty good. You know, like, there's some value there. It always happens if you can just, because he's been stuck in a sad sack situation in Houston, sorry situation. Now the young quarterback wants out. Well, obviously, that wears on you too. So if you change scenery, if you have a little bit of a rebirth, you know, obviously, if you can reunite with your younger brother in Pittsburgh, if you can go